infinity pool to an infinite city. Jakarta is a mega city on the most populated island in the world. It's sprawling, polluted, and growing in a great rush. We're talking 31 million residents in Greater Jakarta. This city will someday be one of the greatest. For now, it's in transition, building the future as it turns over history and culture into foundations for future skyscrapers. So Jakarta right here and right now. Is it worth your time? And how does it stack up? I'm here to find out. Jakarta was seemingly built with the car in mind. The roads are huge, 4 lanes kind of huge, and zebra crossings are just there for contrast. Don't even think about it. Overpasses are the safe way to go about things, or you can cross underground at Mrt stations. Next to main arteries are big pedestrian strips, but walking isn't pleasant here. It's a concrete jungle, generally lacking shade and green spaces. Walking in cities can be a real joy, but here it feels like a chore. Of course, there are areas to go for a stroll, such as around the National Monument, and there's scope for future development of canal walks, such as you may find in Seoul. The city will be investing in cleaning up the canals as part of their incredible seawall plan. If you haven't heard about the proposed Jakarta seawall, check it out. So walking is possible here, and on back streets it can even be fun, jostling between street food stalls and grab motorcyclists. There is scope for a more walkable Jakarta in the future, but for now, it's a miss. Walkability, 2 stars. Traffic sucks in this city. Everyone will tell you that. If you're in a car, you're getting nowhere fast. Better to stick to public transport. The new Mrt system is undeniably first class. It's aspirational in scope and quality. It's modern and spotless, and it's growing. Trains tend to run every 10 minutes, and they pop out above ground as they leave the densest part of the city, costing about 10k for a ride. To take up the slack of the still developing Mrt system is a quality bus network with serious air conditioning. It's called Jacklingo, and it feels like light rail, just without the tracks. Dedicated bus lanes traverse from north to south, and buses run every 3 minutes, which makes this system so efficient. The stations are tap and go, so you need a transit card, and annoyingly it's a different one to the Mrt. And they're cheap. We're talking 3,000 rupiah cheap for a ride. When you have your card set up, the process is a cinch. So public transport is good and getting better, but the system lacks integration. Lines tend to be disconnected, and often you'll have a 50-metre walk street side to connect lines that are just begging to be integrated below ground. There's a line from the airport straight to station BNI City, but for some reason it only runs once an hour. This system works, and as long as you stay close to a station, you'll find public transport to be cheap, quality and efficient. It will be great in the not too distant future. For now, it's still developing. Public transport, 3 stars. I guess the quality of entertainment on offer depends on what entertains you. Let's start with cinemas. They're cheap, modern and abundant, found in malls everywhere, with the going rate of around 60k for a ticket. There's museums and galleries, including Museum McCann, a contemporary art gallery that's worth a look. There's jazz and live music options. As for bars and nightclubs, take your pick. Dragonfly, Embassy, Basque, they're famously good. And the images here, they're from Casper's. SCBD and South Jakarta in general is littered with high-end places, and then a scattering of rooftop bars, lounges and clubs throughout the city. But they aren't cheap. Expect to pay 150 to 200k for a mixed drink. The bars love a good cover band, and the clubs spin DJ sets all night. Keep in mind that there's no rules with regard to indoor smoking here, which you'll either love or hate. Bad for the lungs and good for the laundromat businesses in town. There's We The Fest music festival that runs in September, along with a bunch of other music festivals throughout the year, and of course a variety of international performers doing the circuit. In terms of live sport, when I was here there was an international basketball competition running. Australia won it, by the way. And of course there's a local football team called Persija Jakarta. Entertainment, 3 stars. If you love nightlife, better add a star on top. If you like cycling or jogging, the city closes down a few kilometres of Jalan Sudirman on a Sunday, and it becomes an 8-lane pedestrian leisure zone. Here's some lazy footage I got of it from my apartment pool. There's plenty of futsal and tennis courts littered around town, and a big sports park called the Gelora Bung Karno Sports Complex. They all seem abandoned in the heat of the day, but come alive at night time. There's even a golf course in North Jakarta that's surrounded on all sides by city. Must be some expensive real estate. Gyms, yoga, Pilates are plenty, as you'd expect, with a higher frequency in South Jakarta. So you'll find what you need here, but the humidity takes much of the fun out of it. Indoor air-conditioned activities are the way to go. Recreation, 2 stars. I was expecting to get bored and seek a few day trips, but it didn't happen. There's plenty enough to explore in this mega city. I looked into a few options, including trips to neighbouring cities of Bandung and Bogor, which are cooler, especially Bandung, elevated and in tea plantation country. There's waterfalls, volcanoes and hot springs to explore, and then there's 1,000 islands in the waters to the north. Day trips, 3 stars. The food scene in Jakarta is incredible. Street food stalls litter most every road in town, with diverse options from around the archipelago. The streets are alive with food carts and charcoal and woks and diners, which give the place an Asian street vibrance that I find so alluring. Local restaurants are top quality and abundant. My local Padang joint was the best I've ever eaten. In South Jakarta, pick an international cuisine and you're covered. Covered in a cacophony of choice. I only ate local, of course, and found incredible quality at my new favourite chain restaurant called Rembulan, Indonesian soul food. So good. There's so much food in Chinatown too. Everywhere you look, you'll see something worth trying. And let's not forget the malls. For example, Grand Indonesia Shopping Mall has hundreds of restaurants. If you're after Japanese, you got a few options. More choices than Shinjuku Station. It's a megalopolis, and the food culture stacks up to that billing. Food, 4 stars. Public transport and ride sharing make transportation cheap. You can find food of any budget here, however it's not as cheap as, say, Bangkok. 30 to 50k will get you a cheap street side or food court meal. Drinking, as mentioned before, is expensive at a bar or a club, but a local beer from a convenience store will cost about 23,000. That said, with cheap accommodation, street food, and choosing water over alcohol, you could be comfortable here on 300k a day. Something to consider, however, is that you can live very well here for a similar price as living like a budget backpacker in Singapore. This Airbnb Ben Hill apartment was in the 600k per night range, and that seems like unbelievable value. Incredible restaurants will only set you back perhaps 50 to 100k per dish. If you plan to drink a lot, then expect your costs to balloon, or maybe consider Bangkok instead. Jakarta, as cheap as megacities come. Value, 4 stars. An infinity pool to an infinite city. This has to be the most peaceful way to experience the chaos of the megalopolis. And from this vantage point, you can curate your experience to your own bespoke needs. Want chaos? Want class? Want culture? Want malls? This city has it in spades. For me, it's restaurants, bars, a sprinkling of street life, and this sunbed in the shade. I'm done with exploring by foot. Is Mrt Jacklinko or Grab to places? Nice places with aircon. It's a city best enjoyed with a budget for the finer things. The street food is good, but the restaurants are incredible. This condo, incredible. South Jakarta is the place to be for this kind of lifestyle. Ben Hill, Sudirman, SCBD. From your infinity pool, you can consider wealth disparity and income inequality, as poverty is never far away. Or you can just stay in your South Jakarta bubble and instead consider what restaurant it will be tonight. In Jakartans, I met only warm, kind and helpful people. I had only positive interactions from morning till night. It's a city that I enjoyed so much more than I was expecting to, so much more than the metrics of this analysis will conclude. And I pray that as the city rises to fulfill its mega potential, it will raise the standard of living for all Jakartans.